Welcome everybody. It is Penny and Kim, and we are here today, warming up or lighting up, well, warming up to your Fridays with the 5 stars of strengthening families. We're going to continue our conversation around knowledge, and that is the knowledge of parenting and child development. We're going to do our check-in from last week, and we'll have Penny do that.
Yeah, hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us again for your Friday afternoon. Last week we talked about what comes naturally to you as a parent. So what were those things that you just could do that came naturally, that were easy and sort of seamless? And at the end, we invited you to start noticing those positive, seamless moments. So try to switch the focus from what you did wrong at the end of the day to what you did well. Because typically we aren't always noticing those seamless moments. You know, when you get up and you get your kids fed and off to school and off to work, or off to do work at home or work out of the home. And some days it just goes well. And we need to take a moment to, it's important to take a moment and recognize that you are a part of that. You are a huge part of that. So yeah, we invited you to notice those moments and pay some attention, and that there was always a germ of something in even a rotten day, that, you know, even that awareness, if it was a rotten day, is a positive. So yes, we hope that you had some time to give yourself some pats on the back and notice that you're doing it, you know, you're doing it. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about male role models in children's lives. So we're going to ask, in your experience, why is it important? Why is a male role model in your child's life important? Whether that's a father, a grandfather, an uncle, a friend, a cousin, or yeah, maybe you take on some of those roles that might be a male role if you don't have access to that. So Kim, I'm going to ask you, why do you think a male role model is important in a child's life?
The first thing that comes to mind is risk taking, doing things that you might not otherwise do. Even though in my own family, even though I'm the intense and fun bringer, I still tend to be a little bit cautious as far as doing that, the big body movements and big body play and that kind of thing. So my kids typically wouldn't get that from me. They'd get more of the nurturing. And so when my husband or my kid's uncle or their grandpa would do that, take on more of that role, they would get that sort of stepping out of their comfort zone and stretching the limits just a little, where it's still safe, but more so than they would ever get with me. And it makes me think of something I once heard. Even infants know the difference between, maybe you've heard this too, Penny, but when a mother approaches her baby, quite often the response in the heart rate is that it actually calms. But when the male figure or father or significant person, male figure in their life, male role model in their life, approaches that infant, what do you think happens to the heart rate? It goes up. It goes up. Yeah. So in anticipation for that fun and risk taking. You're laughing. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say.
Well, it's really kind of macabre, but I just think about, well, that's probably instinctual because some fathers eat their own young, right? So the babies are like, oh, alarm. No, sorry.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Just where my brain went. But yes.
Well, it wasn't quite what I was going with, just a small stretch.
Yeah, and what else brought to mind was that beautiful scenario of dad's throwing the toddler up in the air and the mother going, bah, and the kid going, more, right? Because they know that dad's going to catch them. They think, pretty sure dad's going to catch them, but there's that tiny little bit of, will he, won't he?
Yeah.
You know, they're laughing on the verge of hysteria. And even though, you know, as a mother, you're kind of going, well, maybe you're the risk taker as a mother. The beautiful things that's happening in that child's brain when that's happening, right? Yeah, they do. Yeah, the risk taking part.
And when if the dad doesn't, maybe not that particular example, but if they tend to get hurt in that play, there also is an opportunity, and maybe you were just going to speak to this and I stole your thunder, but is resilience, because they learn that I can get hurt and I can then be comforted. Somebody cares about me enough to come check on me. Oh, are you okay? You know what? You know, and get you kind of dust off your knees and get you back up going again. So there's a component of resilience in there as well, right? And of significance, that I matter enough for somebody to come check to see that I'm hurt.
Yeah, totally. And that idea that dads typically are, you know, oh, you okay? Oh yeah, you're good. Come on, let's, you know, so that idea that the child gains that understanding that, well, okay, so that bump hurt, and hey, I'm still okay, and we can still play. And so, you know, they're not made of glass, you know, that you can be hurt, and like you're saying, right? So physical resilience as well as like, oh yeah, well, dads might be a little bit more to the extreme of that, and moms are a little bit more like, oh, are you okay? And it is important for them to know that that happens, right? Because we've become a bit of a world where we're really risk adverse, and that has consequences as far as
that's right,
far-reaching consequences even when it comes to over medicating and you know, the idea that we can't handle pain, whether it's physical or emotional pain, can be extremely detrimental. So males are great for sort of that, like you said, get up, brush yourself off, and let's get back to it. So
yeah, as long as we're allowed to have our tears and our sad feelings about it, you know, we're able to see we can get through this. And there's somebody right beside us to help us through it. And, you know, we're ready to go again.
And they believe in our strength. I think that's, you know, as much as, you know, it's important to let them have their tears. And I think sometimes for a mom, it's like, okay, well, if my daughter would scrape her knee and I was there, it would be, you know, the end of the world. But if her dad was there, she'd cry and he'd make her feel better, and then she'd just be okay with it. So it's, again, that balance between, yeah, it hurts and you can cry about it, and that's, you know, and I'm here, and then, okay, we're just going to keep going. It's a scraped knee. It's not.
You ready to try again? Yeah.
And where I
might
be a little more of the, don't do that anymore then if you scraped your knee.
Yeah.
So
I told you.
Yeah, there's a beautiful balance there. So I think all I would add to that, and I think the unpredictability, that was one thing I was thinking, and that's all part of that risk taking, right? Dads are very unpredictable. So they never quite know what's going to happen. So that's another great sort of element of that risk taking tolerance, right? Helps build that. Excuse me. I had a thought there. Oh, this is a little bit of an aside, but I just learned this the other day in Dr. Robin Gibb was speaking to one of my parent group, and she said research shows that children listen to dads more than moms. So, you know, we're talking to our kids, you know, language development, and apparently, I can't remember the numbers, but I was like, what? But who knows, like, how that ties in, right? Like, maybe because they're, what's going on in those brains that they're absorbing what dad says far more than they're absorbing what mom says, which doesn't mean, moms, that you should stop talking. Because no, we know that talking to your kids is wonderful. It's just that idea that That's why they might come out with a word that dad might say in the shop, but not one that you've been saying to them 50 times over every day. Might not be a word you want to hear. So anyways.
That's right. And Dr. Robin Gibb has some fabulous information. If you ever get to see one of her presentations, it's well worth it on this topic. So, well, she has many different topics, but this one in particular is one of my favorites that I've heard her speak on, and very informative.
So the one other quick thing I wanted to say about dads, and this is my own experience, is the focus. So when you think about how male brains and female brains work, and the fact that a female brain typically is sort of more, much more multitasking, right? And the male brain is more sort of, I'm in this box right now. So here I am in my building box. I'm not leaving this box to think about the groceries or to think about whatever it is. And we know that male brains have stronger connections front to back than side to side, and women have stronger. So that idea that when we're doing this, we're doing this. And I've noticed that it helps my children learn about focus and attention, and that when something's important, you pay attention to it, and you do your best with it, and you focus on that. Which is funny because my partner often talks about the fact that he can't focus, and yet he's far better at that than I am, because I am constantly thinking about the groceries, the laundry, the house, the kids, lunches, homework, right? So to me, that's an important fact that that my particular male role model brings to my children. Yeah,
I love that, Penny. It makes me think of the roles, you know, typically in even going back to, you know, I don't even know if I want to say caveman years, but you know, the some of the things that the roles that the male has, they have to focus, or they could lose a finger if they're, you know, using a skill saw or a hammer, or, you know, if it's anything like that. So there has to be that focus, or it's dangerous, you know, whereas sometimes the women are, you know, more organizational, and they're, you know, putting all the things together and making sure things are happening smoothly. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what it made me think of. So, but I love that, because you're so right. When there's
so we've lost your sound. Well, that's okay, because I think we were just coming to the close of this episode anyways. Yeah, your Bluetooth must be dead. So today our challenge is going to be, again, noticing, does your child have access to a male role model? Whether that be a father, or like we said earlier, uncle, cousin. If not, you know, is there someone you can think of that might be able to come in and spend some time? Or if not, are there ways that you yourself could do some of these plays, or, you know, rough and tumble play, or helping, you know, teach those same skills, brain development. And if you have a male role model, it might be kind of interesting to look and just notice the interactions between your children, and notice how that dynamic is working in your family. All right, well, thank you for joining us again on our Friday, and we will be back next week, 1 o'clock, for our last video in the Knowledge of Parenting and Child Development series. So take care and have a good weekend. Bye, everyone.